They had no idea what was coming, because you can take a man out of war, but you can't take the warrior out of a Dutton. Spencer never got a medal, no shiny star, no ceremony, no grand speech. But those who knew him, those who saw what he did, they understood. The real Medal of Honor wasn't something worn. It was something lived. In every decision he made, in every person he saved, in every moment he chose love over fear and family over freedom. If Spencer's journey moved, if you believe true courage doesn't always wear a uniform, hit like, share this story with someone who values quiet strength, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories from 1923 and beyond. Because heroes like Spencer, they may be rare, but their stories must never be forgotten. Not every hero comes home with a smile. Some return with silence, pain, and memories they can't forget. The sound of distant gunfire echoes in the background. A shadow moves through smoke. It's Spencer Dutton. His face is calm, but his eyes carry a storm. He walks through the battlefield, not for glory, but for survival. He's not here to be remembered. He's here to keep others alive. Spencer Dutton wasn't born a soldier, but war doesn't ask who you are. It turns young men into warriors, and warriors into ghosts. When Spencer stepped into the burning heat of Africa, he didn't just leave behind his family. He left behind his innocence. The days were long, the nights even longer. Every step he took could be his last. But still he moved forward. He saw friends fall one by one. He buried brothers with his own hands, and still he kept fighting, because that's what courage looks like. Not loud, not proud, just necessary. In one of the most intense ambushes, Spencer's team was surrounded. No way out. Bullets flying, dust rising, fear thick in the air. But Spencer, he didn't panic. He didn't run. He crawled through dirt and blood to reach his wounded comrade, pulled him out, carried him through fire, and when asked why he risked his life, Spencer only said, "Because he would have done the same for me." That's the kind of man he was, the kind who didn't need medals. Just purpose, the kind who slept with one eye open and dreamed of silence that never came. Some nights he sat by the fire staring into the flames, not talking, not blinking, just remembering. Each flicker reminded him of a life lost, each crackle a scream from the past. War had changed him, but it hadn't broken him. Even in the middle of chaos, he found a way to protect those around him. He wasn't the loudest in the camp, but when Spencer spoke, men listened because his voice carried truth, and his actions earned respect. He led without asking, had fought without fear, and he survived. Without letting it destroy his soul completely, but the cost, it was high. He stopped writing letters home, stopped smiling, stopped laughing, because how can you laugh when your heart is still in a battlefield? The war didn't end when the guns went silent. For Spencer, it followed him everywhere, every day, and even when he tried to forget, the war remembered him. That's what made Spencer different. Not just that he fought bravely, but that he carried the weight no one else could see. He wasn't just a soldier. He was a shield for his brothers, for his country, and later, for his family. They say when war ends, peace begins. But for Spencer Dutton, peace was just another battlefield. When he returned from the front lines, the guns were quiet, but his mind was still loud. No more bullets, no more orders, no more brothers in arms, only silence. And silence for a soldier can be the loudest enemy. Spencer didn't come back to parades or praise. He came back to a world that moved on without him, to people who smiled too easily, who didn't understand what it meant to watch your best friend bleed out in your arms. He tried to walk through the streets like a normal man, but every sudden noise took him back to the battlefield. Every dream brought memories he didn't ask for. He drank more, talked less, and smiled never. His hands were steady with a rifle, but shook when holding a letter. There were nights he woke up breathless, sweating, reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. There were days he sat for hours, staring at nothing, hoping to feel something, because war may end on paper, but not in the heart. He tried jobs, tried traveling, tried running, but no matter how far he went and where the war followed, inside his mind, it built a home. And Spencer couldn't escape it. He started drifting from places, from people, from himself. Africa, India, Europe. He became a man without a place, not a soldier anymore, not a son, not a husband, just lost. And maybe that's why he didn't write home. What would he even say? Hi, I'm still alive, but I don't feel alive. Sometimes he'd sit at the edge of a camp in the wild. No words, just wind. And in that wind, he'd hear the voices of his fallen friends, whispers of those who never made it out. He blamed himself, even if he wasn't at fault, because that's what survivors do. They carry guilt as heavy as their guns, and yet there was still something in Spencer, a fire, a small one, but it refused to die. Even in the darkest moments, he didn't give up. Maybe he didn't believe in peace anymore, but he believed in purpose. That's why I stayed in motion. He hunted dangerous animals in Africa, not just for work, but maybe to feel alive again, to face death, and look it in the eye on his own terms. But deep down, Spencer wasn't running from danger. He was running from home, from his name, from the Dutton legacy, because facing his family meant facing himself. And maybe he wasn't ready for that yet. He survived bullets, but he didn't know how to survive memories. That's the truth. About war, it changes your face, your voice, your heart. Spencer Dutton wasn't broken, but he was cracked. And some days, he didn't know how to put the pieces back together. He didn't need sympathy. He didn't need words. He just needed someone to understand, somewhere between running from his past and hiding from his pain. Spencer Dutton met her not in a grand hall, not in some perfect moment, but in the middle of nowhere, where broken hearts sometimes cross paths. Her name was Alexandra. She wasn't a soldier. She didn't know war. She didn't carry scars on her skin, but somehow she saw right through Spencer's armor. When Alexandra first looked at Spencer, she didn't see the killer. She didn't see the soldier. She saw the man behind the silence. The first time they spoke, it wasn't about the past. It wasn't about pain. It was about freedom. She wanted to escape a world of rules, control, and empty promises. He wanted to escape a mind full of noise and memories. And for a moment, they weren't running anymore. They were just standing still, together. Spencer didn't believe in second chances. Not for himself, but Alexandra. She was like sunlight after years of storm. She asked questions, real ones. Why do you always look over your shoulder, Spencer? He didn't answer out loud, but in his heart he whispered, because I've seen what waits behind. Still, Alexandra stayed. Where others would walk away from his silence, she leaned in. Where others would fear his past, she touched it with kindness. And where Spencer had built walls, she saw the cracks. And loved him. Anyway, love doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes with peace, with quiet, with shared laughter by a fire. with holding hands under a sky full of stars, and in that quiet, Spencer started to breathe again. They traveled across Africa together, not just crossing lands, but crossing emotional borders through wild terrain, dangerous rivers, and towns that didn't welcome strangers, and yet Spencer wasn't afraid, because for the first time in years, he wasn't alone. There was a moment, one that defined everything. A lion charged toward them in the deep wild. Everyone ran. But Spencer, he stepped forward, not to be a hero, not to prove anything, but to protect Alexandra. And in that single second, she saw it too. This wasn't just a man with a haunted past. This was a protector, a fighter, a heart built for loyalty. He would die for me, she once said, but more than that, he would live for me. Spencer never said, "I love you," with words. He said it with actions, with the way he kept her safe, with the way he listened when she spoke, with the way he held her like she mattered in a world that often forgot people like her. And Alexandra, she didn't try to fix him. She simply stood beside him until he didn't feel broken anymore. Their love was not perfect. It was messy, wild, unplanned, but it was real. And in that love, Spencer found something he didn't think existed anymore. Hope, not the kind you dream about. The kind you hold in your arms. Soft piano music rises. Montage of Spencer and Alexandra laughing, walking barefoot through fields, reading letters, hiding in train cabins, hugging during storms. He still had nightmares, still flinched at loud sounds, still carried the past in his eyes, but now he had someone to remind him that the past wasn't the end of his story. "She didn't just save my heart," Spencer would one day say. "She reminded it how to beat." But even in love, peace never lasts forever. A letter was coming, and with it, a call Spencer could not ignore. Love gave Spencer a reason to live, but duty reminded him why he was born. The letter came on a morning when the sky was too quiet. He held it with shaking hands, read every word twice. And then he looked at Alexandra. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to, because she knew the Dutton family was in danger. Back home, trouble was rising. Land, honor, legacy, all at stake. And Spencer, he was done running. "A man doesn't choose when to be a Dutton," he whispered. "The land calls, and you answer." He promised Alexandra safety. He promised her a future. But first, he had to go back to the very place he had tried to forget, back to the weight of his name. The journey was not easy. Storms, broken trains, blocked borders, and enemies at every step. Nature fought him. People doubted him. But Spencer pushed forward, not with anger, not with pride, but with purpose. He fought pirates, survived shipwrecks, faced death again and again. And through it all, one thing kept him going, her and home. He wasn't chasing medals. He wasn't looking for honor. He was just being who he was meant to be, a protector, a leader, a Dutton. When Spencer finally reached American soil, he didn't arrive like a hero. He arrived like a storm, quiet, unstoppable, necessary. The land of the Duttons had seen blood before, but now it had Spencer's footsteps. And the enemies, they had no idea what was coming, because you can take a man out of war, but you can't take. Spencer never got a medal, no shiny star, no ceremony, no grand speech, but those who knew him, those who saw what he did, they understood the real Medal of Honor wasn't something worn. It was something lived in every decision he made, in every person he saved, in every moment he chose love over fear and family over freedom. Spencer Dutton didn't need a medal to prove his worth. His life was the proof, his legacy, the honor. If Spencer's journey moved you, If you believe true courage doesn't always wear a uniform, hit like. Share this story with someone who values quiet strength. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories from 1923 and beyond. Because heroes like Spencer, they may be rare, but their stories must never be forgotten.